So you're comfortable going out alone, but are you actually enjoying your time? Whenever I look at social media and I see people talking about doing things alone, the biggest problem is that they feel awkward, or they feel like people are gonna judge them, or they feel like they're being watched and judged, and you feel like the two L's, a loner and a loser. And I think we all would agree, if you're feeling that way, that's not really enjoying your time. The first step, just choosing to do things alone, choosing what you're gonna do, where you're gonna go, and then doing it. And there can be a lot of anxiety with just starting that. That is very hard to do. But the second part of that is equally as hard or just more difficult is actually having fun, like enjoying yourself, being at peace. Your mind is completely preoccupied with everything but yourself and what you're doing. So you're not really present in the moment or enjoying anything. You're just kind of anxious and existing. Which honestly, a lot of us are like that anyway, even when we're with people. For me, as I move into adulthood, and especially since I started college, hanging out with people is a lot harder just because we all have busy schedules. We're all juggling school, jobs, social events, everything. You know what I mean? It's completely unrealistic to think that anyone can match your schedule 100% of the time. But that's the perk of doing things alone. You're you. You know your schedule, you know what you're doing, you know where you gotta be and where you don't gotta be. So you can do anything. You have complete freedom. And once you have that freedom, because not a lot of us experienced this before, you don't know what to do with it. So once you get past the anxiety of eating out alone, doing activities alone, what else? Social events alone. The next question you should ask yourself is, am I enjoying this? Is this fun? Am I happy right now? Is this good? Is this actually fulfilling for me? And if I answer that, most of the time I think my answer would be I don't know, because honestly a lot of the time when I'm out and about, I'm just existing. Like, I have no thoughts, head empty completely. The first part of me going out is like me anxious a little bit, thinking oh my gosh, I'm outside, what the heck, and then nothing. But what I'm getting at here is the difference between being lonely and just being alone. And if you're struggling to figure that out, I think these are good things to start thinking about. And honestly, for me, I still can't distinguish between the two. For me, I've gotten the terms so mixed up because there was a time where I was self-isolating and spending way too much time alone. But then once you do that, you start associating all the time that you have alone with negative emotions, when in reality, sometimes it's fun to be alone. It's enjoyable, especially if you're an introvert. And then other times it's oh my god, I don't want to be alone. What am I doing with my life? And once I started feeling like that, I started to hate being alone entirely, even though I low-key like being alone. I'm an introvert. I don't know if you can tell. Hating being alone is not the right answer either, because it's such a privilege to spend time alone. Not everybody can do that. Logistically, some people just don't have the privacy to do so, and then some people just mentally cannot do that. On this day, my brain was just kind of clouded and I really needed to get out of the house. I don't even think I reached out to anyone to hang out. I just immediately got up and left. And my coping mechanism for everything is just to go out and do the things that I enjoy. So my to-do list was to visit a bakery, go and paint pottery, and then eat at a restaurant alone. What I encounter the most when I go out alone is anxiety and worry, and that just amplifies the smallest situations into something scary. And it can be so hard for me to get that out of my head. But what I remind myself of over and over is that the purpose is to make the experience as enjoyable and meaningful as possible, so that over time I'll find that being alone becomes something I appreciate rather than avoid. Going to a restaurant alone is something that's been on my bucket list for a while just because people seem to be kind of afraid of it. It's like the fear that the waiters or the other customers are like watching you and judging you. But I'm telling you, people are more focused on what's on their plate than what you're doing. Like 1 or 2 people might look over and be like, oh, okay, this person is sitting there, but no one is that focused on you. And I wasn't focused on anyone else because I'm enjoying my own time. And everyone just treats you like normal. It's not really as odd to other people as you think it is. Just felt like the type of person that was like, oh, I love being alone, solo diaries, introvert diaries, but I didn't really like being alone all that much until this day. Like, it truly felt fulfilling, and I can only attribute that to me always trying. Even if I didn't feel 100% about everything that I was doing, I always tried to do things that I like. I always tried to do things that made me happy, bring more of that into my life. And I think over time my brain got used to it. It kind of sounds like, oh, whatever, but the power of practice and patience, like consistency, you doing something. Did I say that weird? Do I have a lisp? Training your brain to think differently, redirecting your behavior, your thought process is literally the best thing you can do. Because there's been so many times where I've done things alone and I'm like, oh my God, I am the 2 L's right now. And I would say one of the biggest things too that will take away all the fun and joy of being alone is comparison. If you're thinking in your head like, oh, well, other people are hanging out around me, there's groups of people, there's friend groups, whatever, hanging out while I'm here just like existing. If you're thinking about that constantly, of course you're not going to be happy. And so much of the time, the judgment that you think you're going to receive is the judgment that you put out. It's the judgment that you would give to other people if you saw them in your situation. And if you're not like that, well, use that as motivation, because other people are also not as judgmental as you think they are. What I'm saying is, the more that I accepted who I am, what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, I felt a lot better. That is the first step in feeling more better, is just accepting what you're doing and then consistently doing it. Because being alone, doing things alone, it's not a bad thing at all. If you're self-isolating and you're spending too much time alone, that can be a problem. But just simply doing that, there's nothing wrong with it. Everyone should spend time alone. So maybe part of that thief of joy or the judgment that you have is this feeling inside that what you're doing is bad. Now, I can't really speak to that because that's not how I feel. But maybe that's something for you to think about. Honestly, I just came up with that on the top of my head, so I don't know. Somebody please think about that and tell me if that's a real feeling. I don't know if any of this is like coherent or makes sense. Hopefully it does. I think it does. The way to actually enjoy your time alone, honestly, is to just keep spending time alone, doing the things that you like to do, and focusing more and more on yourself and how you feel. Realistically, being alone is a new skill that you're learning to have, especially if you're not used to doing things alone. If you have a few bad experiences being alone, or you just feel sad, the few first times you do it, or a whole bunch of times that you spend time alone, you just feel sad, keep going. Just keep doing it. It'll eventually feel so much better. Anyway, I've exhausted my brain and my mouth. I hope this video was useful to you in any way. Really, it's just some food for thought. I'm not looking to change your entire life, but I think it's good to think about. I know it's good for me to think about. I think you should make a video just like this and think. Just think. If you like the video, you know what to do. I don't have to tell you. And I'll see you next week, hopefully. Bye guys.